Hello, sports fans. This is the Dog H. Weber with another edition of Weber on Sports Express here on FingerLakes1.com. It's a special show. Why am I wearing a poncho? Well, because later in the show, I will be getting hit with a pie by my friends from ZuZu's who are in the studio, in the office. They'll be joining me in a few minutes. It's good to have you alongside. I never realized more people were so interested in me getting hit with a pie than the last several days. So it should be fun at the end of this show. By the way, I make a habit of picking on the Yankees, but I must give them credit because the Yankees did something that is truly Major League Baseball history last Friday night. As they were trailing Oakland 7-1, I stopped watching it. My wife Mary, who's a diehard fan, kept watching it. The Yankees come back, believe it or not, and won the game 22-9. They set a Major League Baseball record, hitting 3 grand slam home runs in one game. Never been done before. The hitters that knocked it out of the park were Russell Martin, Mark Teixeira, and Robinson Cano. That's the good news about the Yankees. But again, their pitching is still inconsistent. And I must remark about that on this show. Another lousy pitching performance by Carol Burnett. Oh no, that's not Carol Burnett, that's A.J. Burnett. The guy that's getting $16.3 million a year to pitch for the Bronx Bombers. His ERA goes up to a 8.00, which is terrible. Believe it, you wouldn't even make the Lily with an 8.0 ERA. And by the way, he had 5 innings he pitched, 9 earned runs. The guy's getting $16.3 million. The dog's choice? Let him go. Cut him. He's not worthy of being a New York Yankee. Well, you know, I very seldom do props on this show, but I made an exception this morning before we get to talk to the ZuZu staff. You know, I always kid about Mike Cotillo, who's an executive, my buddy up at the Finger Lakes Times, along with Ellen Brigna, who has another job as an executive up there. And, of course, Greg, the good sports guy, and Josh Desane, who I used to work with several months ago, doing a show up in Geneva for that radio operation. But Mike was telling me he couldn't come down to do the Dog and Paulie podcast, which, of course, is broadcast on Wednesdays here on FingerLakes1.com. And we are having a good time with myself and my buddy Paul Hellstrom. And Mike was telling me he can't make the show for a few weeks because they're on vacation. I didn't take it literally that they were all going to go on vacation because last Thursday night, I never miss anything. I noticed that the Finger Lakes Times, our hometown paper, the headline, folks, is Mets finally win in Philly. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear 25 games out of first place? Do you understand what 25 games out of first place means? That means you are an also-ran. That means you should be planning your new uniforms for 2012. By all means, I can't understand why that would be the headline. Maybe they all left on the same bus to go to Aruba. But all kidding aside, they had to come up with some better information. How about a ping pong tournament covering that in North Rolls? Or how about some bocce action? Maybe Williamson, New York, which is in the Finger Lakes Times area. Or my good friend Brad Jones, who's not very much of a golfer, he shot a 14 on the 14th hole. That's a par 5, so he was 9 over par one day playing the 14th hole. So to my buddies at Finger Lakes Times, if this is the best we can get, maybe you guys ought to all come back from vacation. Well, without further ado, let me call in my friends from ZuZu's. Come on in, ZuZu fans. And these folks have been like family to me since I have spent so much time at their restaurant. And, of course, their restaurant is located right above the studio. And without further ado, Sunshine Peoples, the owner. Sunshine, glad to have you on the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Now, you came into town, and how long have you owned the business?
Since March 4th of this year.
What is your prognostication look? You like the way it's going? You think it's been a success for you so far? Are you still working out the bugs?
I'm very proud of ZuZu's. I think we've come a long way, and we've got a lot of more exciting plans for the future.
And by the way, they not only serve breakfast, lunch, and they serve wonderful baked goods. We'll talk to Chrissy Remington in a second. But in all seriousness, you're going to start something which I think is a novel idea. Starting in October, every Friday, first Friday of every month, they're going to be serving dinners. Tell us a little bit about that.
We're going to be serving dinner along with live music and live art. Sometimes we'll do dinner in a movie, dinner in a show, dinner in some comedians. But for the first Friday of every month, we will have dinner at ZuZu's.
That's awesome. So check out ZuZu's. They're not only a fine sponsor of this program, but they also do a wonderful job. I spend about every day there for at least a couple of hours, and my wife loves it. And if ZuZu's closes, my wife will probably divorce me, but all kidding aside. My buddy Chris Remington, who is Sunshine's aunt. Chris, good to have you along on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Chrissy, tell us about, you're the baker, not the candlestick makers. I always interview you, but my point is you and Dan, I see he's got a sore back, but you put out some wonderful baked goods, and Has that been something you've been involved with for a long time?
Yeah, I've been baking for about 10 years.
10 years.
When Sunshine called me and asked me to come be her baker, I didn't hesitate 1 second. And here we are, and we're doing a wonderful job.
And I'll tell you something, folks. You look at that case of all those baked goods, and I see it every morning when I come in. Just one after another keeps going out, and that's the beauty of it. And who's this little girl right here? The legendary Angelina. Angelina, you want to say hi to your friends? No. Well, Angelina, I call her Waldo. That's a nickname I gave her. She drives me crazy when I'm at ZuZu's. Every single morning, she drives me completely out of my mind. But I love her, and she's a good girl. And she's going to school a week from Wednesday, and her teacher is Jimmy Centercrope's sister. Lisa Ferletti will be your teacher, and I know she's excited. By the way, I want to send out hello to Ryan and Allison Ferletti. I understand they check out the show once in a while, so I don't know about Jimmy, but I know a lot of my friends cannot wait for RRR, which stands for Rugrats Return, a week from Wednesday, as the school's open and the parents cannot wait for that big day. Well, I guess it's time. It is time, ladies and gentlemen. Let me preface this by saying I've made a tremendous amount of enemies and a lot of detractors over the years for saying bad things about the New York Yankees, about the Buffalo Bills, about the New York Mets, and a host of other things that I criticize weekly on this show. And people say, well, Weber, all you do is go on the next week and you just change your opinions, and there's never been any accountability for your actions. Well, I decided for all you detractors, and there are many of you I know that you've been waiting for this moment. So as I take off my glasses, I'm going to hand these to Chrissy. This is for you folks, so we're going to count down. You've enjoyed this. Weber gets nailed for all your detractors. Enjoy the moment.
3,
2, 1. Oh my. Talk about pie in the sky. All you Weber detractors, enjoy this moment. We may do it again. That's a look at sports. Pie in the eye, my way.